We are back with a recap of the Browns and Ravens game. The Browns fall to the Ravens in Baltimore by the score of 20-23. They lose by 3 points, and it's not even off of a Justin Tucker last-second field goal. Although we will get to last-minute field goals in a minute. I usually have some notes that I jot down that I look after. I don't care about notes right now. This isn't going to be as formal as a review as I usually do. We're just going to go right into the final drive of the game for the Browns, at least. Well, not the final one, but the final one that had any shot of getting the Browns back in the lead or at least tied in the game. We're going to go back to that. We're going to start with what all the Browns fans are going to be talking about are the two calls that really impacted this drive. The first one being the offensive pass interference on Amari Cooper. Is that, by the letter of the law, offensive pass interference? Yes. By the letter of the law, I do agree with the call. Amari Cooper reached his hand out, and he used some force to get some separation on that catch. However, do they ever call that ever? Not really. It probably has gotten called at other times besides this one, but usually, especially in the final 2 minutes of the game, usually they let... Well, it wasn't the final 2 minutes, but especially like late in the fourth quarter, they usually let people get away with things, especially wide receiver. There is no offensive pass interference is usually very reluctantly called, and I feel like that one didn't necessarily fall under reluctance from the referee. But, I do agree with the call in general. That one was pass interference. I'll give you that. So that penalty takes them out of field goal range. Jacoby Brissett on the next play pulls some voodoo magic out of his hat. He scrambles for enough yards to get him back into field goal range where Cade York can realistically make it. Good for Jacoby Brissett, by the way, too, on that drive. He did show some heart in scrambling, even though he's not the most mobile guy, not very fast. But hey, he is willing to scramble to get yards if the defense gives it to him. He gets them into field goal range. Not a chip shot by any means, not a guarantee or anything, but Cade York can definitely make it from that yardage. He made a 58-yard field goal against Carolina, so 56 yards is definitely within the realm of possibility here. And then the false start penalty happens, and they throw a flag. It's a line of scrimmage penalty before the play. And as soon as the officials conference, as soon as they get into that little huddle they do and they talk it over, you knew that the Browns were getting this false start penalty. You knew as soon as they gathered up into a group. I'm not saying that they maliciously, intentionally rigged the Browns as they're looking over the Vegas odds or anything, but I do think the referees were initially thinking of calling offsides, and they were talked out of it, whether it was by the Ravens sideline or they got in their own heads about it. By the way, I know it's going to be about the long snapper and did maybe Charlie Hewlett move the ball. They didn't call the penalty on Charlie Hewlett. They called it on number 68. Charlie Hewlett's number is 47. But actually, on this false start penalty, they call it false start after, I do think they initially ruled it offsides, but they gather and they talk about it. However it happened, I do think they got talked out of calling it offsides and revert back to a false start. Even though where the majority of the action happened on the defensive side, it was all Ravens jumping off. I don't understand how that's a penalty. I'll look at I have an inkling about what happened, but I do want to get actual video of the play. I actually do some very basic video editing and explain what I think happened on this false start penalty. I think the referee on the left side saw some flinching from the left side, but the Ravens do end up jumping off sides even before that. So again, I do want to get that video out eventually, but not right now as I'm doing this reaction. It will require me to do some basic editing, and I can't multitask for shit. So basically, they call that false start. Now 61 yards, while it is a longer field goal, I think Cade York does have the leg to hit that field goal. So not completely hopeless, but Cade York gets it up. It gets deflected and blocked anyway, so it doesn't even matter. That's essentially the game. The Browns do get the ball back with 20 or so seconds left. They don't get anything done out of it. The Browns did show some heart in the fourth quarter, but again, the officials weren't the only bad thing to happen to the Browns in this game. I know that a lot of Browns fans are going to use this as a scapegoat as to definitely the reason why the Browns lost. And remember, the false start penalty wasn't even for the Browns to win the game. It was just for the Browns to get the chance to tie it. The chance to tie it, because Cade York still has to make a 56-yard field goal. So without that penalty, or that penalty being offsides, that does not guarantee the Browns a victory in any way, shape, or form. Some other things that were bad that happened. Nick Chubb did end up getting more carries than he got 16 carries, which is a good bit, but I still don't think it's enough. especially with his yards per carry. I think for some reason Nick Chubb got lost in the second and third quarters. You saw in the first quarter he was involved in the offense was running well, and when the Browns were making their run in the fourth quarter, Nick Chubb was getting steady carries. I don't know what happens with Kevin Stefanski sometimes, that he just forgets that Nick Chubb exists, but in the second and third quarter, it was a dead zone for Nick Chubb majority, such as myself, although I was playing Nick Chubb in fantasy, so I guess that's the silver lining there. But I would much rather take the L in fantasy and have Nick Chubb go off for a stellar day, because I love watching Nick Chubb. That's the one thing about the Browns. Win or lose, I get to watch Nick Chubb run the football every week, and I think, to me, that's special. But Kevin Stefanski losing Nick Chubb in the second and third quarters did not help. The whole team imploded in the second quarter. The offense was flat. The defense couldn't really get much stops going, although they did do a nice job of keeping the Ravens out of they did a decent job keeping the Ravens out of the end zone in this game. 23 points for this defense is a miracle, especially with a team like the Ravens. But the Ravens haven't been good as of late. They've been losing momentum, and to not be able to capitalize on that with the Browns this week is really disappointing. These are two teams that can't get out of their own way, and that's kind of what it looked like. That's kind of what we saw. Again, it was a close game, but it didn't feel like it was close because it was just two juggernauts going at it. It was close because neither team could really find their footing to really put the game away. And so it came down to the Browns needing a last few minute drive. Some of the whistle definitely not going their way. Again, I do think the call on Amari Cooper was fine. It's a letter of the books call that usually isn't called, in my opinion. And I do think that false start penalty did come with some confusion and some talking with the officials, talking with each other, and talking themselves out of giving the Ravens that offside call and finding a way for that false start call to be the case. So let me know what you think about the Browns in the comments below. Are you a little more harsh on me? Do you think that the officials in this game really did have it out for the Browns or something like that? Because I really don't think so, but it is, I guess, possible. It's within the realm of possibility. I just think they got psyched out of calling the obvious correct call. So let me know about that down in the comments. Thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, please feel free to leave a like and a subscribe if you like the video. I'd like to see more like it. Again, thank you all for watching if you made it here, and I'll see you at the next one.